The sacred homecoming, a journey back to your true self. It's no coincidence that you're hearing this right now. As these words find their way into your awareness, something profound is shifting in the quiet, unseen architecture of your soul. Your presence here isn't an accident. This message hasn't reached you by chance. You are standing on the edge of an internal turning point, a threshold your spirit has felt for a long time, even if your conscious mind hasn't yet found the language for it. What you are about to explore in the next few minutes isn't some shallow feel-good motivation. This is the unveiling of a deep psychological process, one that Carl Jung identified as the moment the soul begins its journey of reclamation. This journey has its own signs, its own messengers. It leaves its own trail of breadcrumbs in your daily life. And whether you realize it or not, you are already walking that path. Let's uncover together what your own spirit has been trying to tell you for months. The language of synchronicity. There are moments in life when the fabric of reality seems to hum with a different frequency, not louder, but with more density. You're moving through an ordinary day when a thought arrives in your mind that feels like it doesn't belong to you. Or you hear an old forgotten song 3 times in a single afternoon from 3 different sources. Perhaps you pull a random book from a shelf, and it falls open to the exact passage that speaks directly to a question weighing on your heart. Most people dismiss these things as random, a quirk of fate, and move on. But you feel something more. These are not coincidences. They are instances of what analytical psychology calls synchronicity. Jung saw this not as chance, but as a fundamental ordering principle of the universe operating beyond the laws of cause and effect. It is the sacred intersection where your inner world and the outer world touch, reflect each other, and reveal a shared hidden meaning. Your soul does not operate on a schedule. It doesn't think in spreadsheets or to-do lists. Its language is one of images, of symbols, of those strange encounters that make you pause and wonder. When a great inner homecoming is approaching, the unconscious sends out its scouts. It's preparing you even when you don't know what you're being prepared for. This preparation happens beneath the floorboards of your conscious awareness. You feel a restlessness you can't name, a longing for something you can't define, a pressure building from within that keeps you staring at the ceiling in the dead of night. Your body is the first to know. Your skin might feel more sensitive, your hearing more acute. Some people report smelling a scent from their childhood that hasn't been present for decades, or seeing the colors of a sunset with an almost painful intensity. This isn't your imagination. This is your psyche extending its antenna, sensing that a profound recalibration is on the horizon. What you experience as a premonition is in truth an echo of yourself, an echo of the person you were before the world taught you to shrink, to make yourself smaller. The true self-awakening. Jung spoke of the self as the true center and totality of the personality. This self is not your ego, not the curated persona you present to the world. It is the indestructible core that lies beneath all the layers of conditioning, trauma, and survival mechanisms. When a comeback is imminent, it's because this core has begun to stir. It is demanding to be seen. It is finished with being invisible. The question isn't whether you feel ready. The question is whether you are willing to see the signs your own depths are sending you. Have you noticed lately how old passions no longer ignite you? How friendships that sustained you for years now feel strangely empty? How pursuits you once poured your heart into have lost their resonance? This isn't a loss, this is a clearing. Your psyche is making space. It is clearing the stage for something far more substantial for you in your most authentic form. A comeback is not about going back. It isn't a sentimental wish for a past that's gone. The English word homecoming holds a different kind of power. It implies returning to a territory that was yours all along, but which you were exiled from. It means reclaiming the parts of you that were buried under the rubble of other people's expectations. You are not returning to a former state. You are returning to yourself, to the untamed power that existed before fear taught you to be quiet, to the piercing clarity you possessed before you learned to betray yourself in exchange for acceptance. Recognition and revelation. Jung made a crucial distinction between what is imposed from the outside and what grows from within. Most people live a life scripted by external forces, the ambitions of their parents, the codes of their culture, the desires of their partners. They are performing in a play they never auditioned for, and then one day, after years or decades, something inside them shatters, not because they failed, but because their soul can no longer bear to live in exile. Your homecoming begins the instant you realize you are playing a role, that the words leaving your mouth are not your own, that you are sitting in rooms where your spirit cannot breathe. This realization hurts, but it is the beginning of everything. There's a profound difference between a new start and a homecoming. A new start seeks a different location, a new job, a new partner, something external. A homecoming digs for what was lost internally. It's an archaeological dig for the strength you buried the first time you were told you were too much, for the righteous anger you had to swallow to be considered nice, for the truth you had to silence to avoid being rejected. None of that is gone. It has been frozen in time, waiting, but it is not dead. Your comeback is the careful excavation of these living parts of you. So many people are terrified of their own magnitude. They have been taught to apologize for the space they occupy, for their needs, for their very existence. But this diffidence is not your nature. It is a learned behavior, and anything that has been learned can be unlearned. Jung described the process of individuation as the journey to become who you have always been in your deepest essence. Not a better person, not a more perfect person, a more real person. Your comeback is not a project of self-improvement. It is not about becoming good. It is about becoming true, one who no longer has to lie to survive. Conclusion, the moment of return. But before such a homecoming can occur, something must die. Not symbolically, but in the real landscape of your inner world. You cannot return to your core essence without first walking through the dark. Jung called this descent the nekia, the journey into the underworld of one's own psyche. Down there, in the cellars you've avoided for years, lie the answers. Down there too are the wounds that never healed because you were told to just get over it. There resides the grief you were never allowed to feel, the rage you weren't permitted to express, the profound loneliness you've been numbing with endless distractions. This descent is not a punishment, it is a prerequisite. You cannot ascend without first going down. The soul has its own elemental logic. It does not allow you to bypass the abyss. It forces you to look into it. And in that gaze there is a strange kind of grace. Because in the darkness you don't just find pain. You find the pieces of yourself you were forced to abandon along the way. The creative child who stopped painting because he was told it was a waste of time. The powerful voice that went silent because no one was listening. The beautiful dream that died because it was ridiculed. All of it is waiting for you down there, and it is never too late to bring it back into the light. Your homecoming is not a destination, but an arrival into yourself. It happens when the internal tension between who you are and who you've been pretending to be becomes unbearable. That moment is now. You are hearing these words because something inside you is already awake. You are on the cusp of the greatest comeback of your life. Not because you are about to gain something new, but because you are about to take back what was always yours.